findings from this year's State Performance Index by Phillips Consulting shows that favourable economic conditions are not sufficient to improve momentum of states. Now, the report notes that increased fiscal resources with effective governance, sound financial management and improvements in public service delivery generally recorded stronger performance. Victor Mba, the head of research at Phillips Consulting, joins me now live in our Lagos studio for more on this report. Thank you so much for joining us on the show today, Victor, and it's also been a busy set of days following the launch of today's report. Well done. But let's start off with the biggest story emerging from this year's State Performance Index and why the report focuses on momentum index rather than the, should I say, traditional ranking.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me once again. This year is a year before the election year, and we are very conscious about the index not being weaponized. And we also discovered that states make progress. Yes, a state can be bad in terms of performance and still bad anyway, but it has made progress. Yeah. So what we have decided to do this year is to measure the momentum, the movement, how much progress have a state made compared to where it was during when we ranked it the last time. That's what we did this year. So we are not so focused on performance, but we have the data. What we're focused on is how have the states moved, on how have they declined from the mean.
Yes. And talking about the sort of trajectory as well now, when we're talking about governance and fiscal management, we've seen higher FAC revenues, which means states now have more money to do necessary heavy lifting. But would you say states are spending this windfall effectively?
Well, the data doesn't really suggest that, because Nigerians still rate their satisfaction with services provided by government at 2.9/5. That's just a little bit above average.
But we're seeing CapEx go over recurrent expenditure.
So it depends on what those CapEx are aimed at. When you have more money, where are you spending your money? I can decide to do roads as a state government. Is that what the people want? If the people want healthcare, the people want more education, and I focus all my energies on building roads, that doesn't speak to the needs of the people. It doesn't impact the lives of people. At the end of the day, it's not about projects or cutting ribbons or making announcements. It's about impact. Is my life better off today than it was yesterday? And that is what we measure when we engage with citizens. Again, this year we talked to about 38,000 people, up from 10,000 from last year. So we are also making progress in reaching out to people and asking them, how are you benefiting from government?
Yeah. And your report also touches on the new tax reforms as well now, because that has been center stage. We're still looking at the fuller implementation. It's still early days, but let's talk about how this also influences competition among states when we're looking at revenue generation, collection, and the strategy going forward.
Okay, yeah, so with the tax reforms, it just spells more revenue for states. So states that are willing to put in the work, to work harder, encourage private sector participation, grow businesses, those states will earn more from taxes. That is the whole essence of these tax reforms. And it also gives them more money to, invest more in other programs that encourage private sector participation. And of course, all these things are all connected to impact, making people's lives better off than it was yesterday.
Yes, but let's talk about an investor's perspective now at this point in time. What should matter more? Would you say overall wealth or governance momentum? And then when we're looking at states emerging as the biggest investment surprises in this year's report, which would you say are the interesting ones?
Okay, so I will talk about Abia, for example. Abia started off 2 years back as one of the lowest performing states. And today they are the third performer. We see that progress. Last year they moved up, and this year they're also number 3.
Much higher.
Yes. So when you are an investor looking for a favorable environment to make investment, you look at the pSPI, it points you to the right direction. If you are, even for states who have not really performed well, that's also a potential for investment. So if I have, I'm an investor in a sector like education, I might want to go to a state that is performing poorly, so that
Then
my
you can
services are
tap
needed
into
there.
the challenges and turn it to opportunities.
So it works both ways.
Yes. And talking about challenges now, employment remains one of the lowest rated indicators nationally as well too. What does this tell us about the quality of economic growth we have at subnational levels?
Okay, so with education, or
employment.
Rather, yes, employment. So employment has always been a problem. And it speaks to so many factors. It speaks to education, it speaks to the Jackpot syndrome, it speaks to the whole economic situation of the country. It's not as it used to be, So education is employment is a problem, and what we have done is, pointing states to the right direction. There are states that are performing well in terms of generating employment for their people. There are initiatives they have put in place to help them generate those employments. Yes, we can look at the state like Kano. Kano is one of the states that came up in terms of providing economic opportunities for the people in their states. So there are initiatives in place in those states, and when you go to a deep dive into those state reports, you would see some of the things that they are doing to encourage people. Abia is under states and have done well. Enugu is under states that are doing well. Lagos State is also doing well in that aspect.
But talking about the journey around accountability and transparency, we have 4 jurisdictions, I'm looking here, excluded from the Momentum Index due to missing audited accounts or insufficient survey responses. What does this tell us also as well, or the sort of message this sends about transparency?
Thank you. So that's interesting. 4 of those states are the FCT and Rivers State.
Which is surprising.
Yes, so FCT and Rivers State haven't released their audited accounts for 2024 and 2025. In fact, for FCT, even 2023 have not yet been released. For Yobe and Zamfara states, it's not on the states. We did not collect enough responses to be able to rate those states, looking at the method we have applied to ensure that the sample sizes are sufficient enough to inform correct rankings. So it doesn't tell well of those states. As of today, we use the 2024 report for our assessment, which is not correct. We're supposed to use the 2025, but as of today, we have only 14 states that have released their 2025 audited annual report, which we are encouraging state governments to, as much as possible, make these things public.
But what's the feedback from the likes of the FCT?
Well, we have engaged the FCT, and we hope to get feedback from them.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wrap it up now. We are still looking at prospects ahead, and we also have had the Electricity Act, which is opening new opportunities for subnationals. But would you say our states are prepared to now manage the sort of new responsibilities when we're looking at our electricity markets, integration, exploring further opportunities?
Okay, so it's a work in progress. Yeah, so many states, this whole new devolution of more responsibility, they are still new to it. So there's still some baby steps that needs to be taken, some hand-holding, and more importantly, peer review. Some states are more advanced than the others. So we encourage states, why not go and learn from other states that have done this thing better? Yeah, so there's that opportunity for peer review. And, one thing we've done this year is to break down all our reports. So this is the report for this year that was launched. It's very abridged version. But on the portal, you have reports for each and every state in Nigeria, every single indicator that we are measuring, which is available to get on our portal. So there's that opportunity for peer learning. We encourage states, look around. You have the Governors Forum, you have other forums where you engage.
Because I was going to ask, wrapping up, that if governors were to focus on just 3 priorities, for example, now before the next edition of your paper is out, what recommendation would you make here? And then as we're counting down to the elections as well now for the average Nigerian or investors, what should they look out for?
So the first I would say is transparency. States should publish their audited annual report in good time. A state is like a listed company. These are public, it's a public institution. We own our states. So we deserve to know in good time how the monies from the states are being spent.
Taxpayers' money is what keeps the government running.
The second area is generating employment. It is very important. employment, people need jobs. The final area for me is security. They work to work, and they work from work back home should be safe.
Yeah.
For me, these three areas are very important. It would inform how state perform in the next index.
Okay, Victor, it's a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
That was Victor Mba, the head of research at Phillips Consulting.